G'day guys, Shane Beaumont on behalf of Haven Property Group with the first quarter of 2026 market update. Very proud to say for the group, we had just under 360 transactions take place, around 450 million in value. So we've got a great insight to what is happening across the Perth metro area. Today's market update, really want to talk about the trends and sentiment as opposed to data, because obviously a lot of things happening, a lot of noise out there, so we'll get stuck into it. Look, sentiment has definitely changed, and for a variety of reasons, which we'll talk about in the other questions to follow. But ultimately, the panic has come out of the market where people do not need to make a decision then and there after the home open or even the next day. Second inspections are taking place, maybe speaking to loved ones, partners, just taking their time a bit more, which we think is great. It actually gives owners a position to actually get a bit of feedback from the market also, as opposed to feeling that they have to act then and there because maybe they need to find another property. So there's no other place in the country you'd rather be a property owner in Perth, in my opinion, but sentiment has just cooled, but still fantastic sentiment as far as wanting to buy in WA. So unlike last year where there was obviously a huge amount of investors, in fact the last few years, the investors, because the Perth property market has performed so well, a lot of the investors that were chasing the yield, i.e. 7%, they're simply not getting those returns at the moment, because properties that were, say, renting for $700 a week that were worth $500,000 are now $900,000 and only renting for an extra $50. So the vacancy rate obviously pushing from 0.5% to around 2.5% has meant that really the most active investor is chasing a value add proposition. So subdivision, something they can renovate, add value, as opposed to the yield and maybe reliant on the growth. The owner-occupier, without a doubt, has become the most prominent buyer in the marketplace, and they are looking for a property to call home. So that's why I say with presentation to become a bit pickier, because it is going to be their home as opposed to renting it out. Look, the most resilient properties realistically are anything under the median house price, which depending on where you read sits at around 930 to 950,000. Pure and simply, there's not enough supply there, and there is still the active investor and owner-occupier in that space. The real premium properties are still achieving premium results. I don't think they're spooked by current market conditions or interest rates and things like that. But probably that middle ground we're seeing where things have just slowed up a little bit is probably the 1.3 to 2.5. And I think a lot of the reason is that the people that were maybe buying those homes aren't getting crazy results on their properties below that. So they're not running around with that blank check almost. A bit more normality on suburb bias has kicked in. For a while there, we've just seen these anomalies pop up where people had to pay X amount for a property. So that's probably been the biggest change. Look, days on market's a really interesting thing, because I think you should split it into two sections of the market. Anything sub the median house price, as I mentioned, which is under $1 million, you're probably sitting at around 10 days tops. And in most circumstances, there are offers ready to go after the first viewing anyway. That flow-on effect of things slowing down, I think you'll start to see sitting around 20, but Perth is still sitting at around 13. Stuff that's north of 3.5, 4 million can be a bit stickier, and I guess what we are seeing is a lot of subject to sales at that sort of price point. Before, those subject to sales weren't getting the attention they deserve, but we're just finding now the subject sale creeping in is more common, and owners are willing to accept the terms on that. And in some instances, actually taking their property off the market during that subject sale period because they're happy with the result and the terms, because they need to go and find something. Look, I think the next 3 to 6 months is going to be really interesting. Obviously, with the war happening at the moment, whilst it's not impacting today buyers that have sold their home, they need to purchase. People have been sitting on the fence. I think they just want to see where things go with this. Interest rates, without a doubt, I think we're going to continue to see those rise. But as I mentioned in previous updates, Perth is probably the most desirable place to live at the moment, we're finding, on affordability, conflict, all those sorts of things. So it's a real hotspot, and we don't expect that to change. We are seeing people moving back. The amount of people we're hearing that are looking to move back from either Singapore or Dubai for whatever reason. So that's obviously helping the premium end of the market. But I think you're going to see stock levels increase to around 5,000. And I must say, a lot of these people that are selling, we don't feel are local buyers, or local sellers rather. It's actually a lot of Eastern States people that are maybe moving back to Melbourne looking for value for the next investment, because they've had an incredible run. So I wouldn't be surprised to see that the local seller isn't as spooked, because they need to find another home. But a lot of investors are looking to take some money off the table in what has been some really buoyant growth over the last 24 months. So in closing, Perth still has a great outlook. Obviously a bit of uncertainty out in the marketplace for people sitting on the sidelines that do not need to act. But the reality is is sitting between 850 and 920 sales a week. Those people that are selling need to go buy. So with all the media out there and all the talk about interest rates, deals are still happening. If we can help you in your marketplace, we have many Haven specialists across Perth, some leading agents, leading teams. We'd love to help.